And lo and behold, that obligation to buy all of a sudden doesn't seem quite so obligatory, does it? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today that means talking about another deal that is probably going to go awry, right? So we're going to talk about Nicolas Jackson today, because over the last few days, since the original loan move, where we were led to understand that it was a €16.5 million loan fee and that there was an obligation to buy at the end of the season. Now, they did say that there was going to be like certain metrics that had to be met in order for this deal to go through, right? So what we've found out in the last couple of days is what these proposed metrics are. And if all of the news is to be believed, we have found out from none other than like the president of Bayern Munich himself, Uli Hoeneß, who has come out with a bit of it's quite candid and almost a little bit disrespectful, if I'm being completely honest, just in the way that, look, maybe this is a translation issue, right? Potentially. German language, very, very direct. 100%. So translated into English might give it that edge of this seems a little bit more like out of order than otherwise it might have been. But guys, before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Uli Hoeneß, what has Uli Hoeneß said about Nicolas Jackson? So as I said before, man, like, we knew there was an obligation to buy supposedly in the deal, and what we hadn't found out is what the metrics that Jackson would have to meet in order to trigger that clause was. Uli Hoeneß has come out and told us that in order for Jackson to have the permanent deal to Bayern Munich sealed, he would have to make 40 starts this season. Now, 40 and starts. So we're not talking about like off the bench appearances and stuff. We are talking about 40 starts in this season in order for that obligation to be triggered. So this is a bit outrageous, isn't it, man? This is a bit outrageous. Now, I'm starting to get a little bit sick of these obligations to buy in general, right? Because do you remember, obviously it was from our side, actually, like the roles have been a little bit reversed now, but we had an obligation to buy Jadon Sancho if we finished above 14th in the Premier League last season. And that obligation seemed to be the thing for the whole season. And then all of a sudden, just when we decided we weren't really interested anymore, this new little clause comes out of nowhere saying we can send him back to Man United for $5 million if we didn't want to make the deal permanent. And that is what we ended up doing. So this is not what an obligation is. You know what I mean? So like from a fan perspective, it's really frustrating, right? So let's just talk about the likelihood of Jackson making 40 starts this season. So Jackson wants to be a striker, I think, at least since he's been at Chelsea. That's 100%. All of the managers that have had him have been like, he's a striker, he's a striker. Harry Kane is Bayern Munich striker. Harry Kane, the potentially single most deadly marksman on the planet at the moment, and unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely love having him in an England team, don't get me wrong, but Jackson's nowhere near Harry Kane, is he? Jackson's not getting starts over Harry Kane as long as Harry Kane is fit. Okay, so next, let's talk about left wing, because one thing we've always said is, myself and a lot of other Chelsea fans have said, is why did we never try Nicolas Jackson out on the left wing when our left wing situation was so dire? Now, our striker situation was dire as well, so maybe that makes sense. But Jackson's natural stylistic inclination when he plays is to drift out to the left and create different spaces, allow people like Cole Palmer to run through the middle and find himself in scoring positions and stuff. And it's something he's very naturally good at. And he was a left winger when he was at Villarreal as well. So, okay, maybe Jackson can start on the left wing. Probably not, because they've just spent €70 million on Luis Diaz from Liverpool, who is also a bit of a beast, and he is locking down that spot straight away. He looks great in a Bayern Munich shirt, and he was great for Liverpool at that spot as well. So is Nicolas Jackson going to get 40 starts over Luis Diaz when he hasn't even actually played left wing for the last 2 years? No, probably not. All right, let's throw one out there. Right wing. Okay, let's talk about the right wing. Jackson can play left wing. He can play up top. Stands to reason he might be able to play right wing as well. Okay, no, well, that's probably not going to happen because they have Michael Olise on the right wing, who is also an absolute baller and has been at that Bayern Munich team for an entire year and is absolutely smashing it. He looks great in that team. I was very disappointed when we didn't get Michael Olise, but at the end of the day, the right wing situation at Chelsea is quite stocked now, so that's another story for another time. But Is Jackson getting in over Michael Elise on the right wing? No, I don't think so. So, right, even if... Can he get starts in rotation? Do you know what I mean? If between the three of them, if they all miss 10 games each, that's still 10 games short of what he'd need. Now, I'm not 100% sure who plays in the centre of the attack at the moment for Bayern Munich. But Nicolas Jackson's not getting in the camp, do you know what I mean? Because it's just absolutely not his skill set. And why would Bayern Munich pay all this money for the loan and then try and get him 40 starts by getting... It's just not... Even if, let's just play the game for a second there. That means that all four of their attacking players would have to miss 10 games each during the season due to rotation or injury in order for Nicolas Jackson to get that start. The chances of that happening with all of them is very, very, very low. So the reason that this is annoying, right? The reason that I am exasperated by this is, what was the point? Well, literally, what was the point in trying to bring him back from the loan to get the obligation in there in the first place if the obligation was basically just like nothing, man? It's just not even going to happen. Do you know what I mean? At this point, you probably would have thought, if Jackson would have been told this, I don't know, because he must have known, do you know what I mean, when he signed the deal, when he must back himself to do it, or he just wants to be away from Chelsea for a year to try and get his stock up and try and get a move somewhere else. I guess that's possible as well. But I'd rather have just kept him, man. We should have just kept him at Chelsea. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm fully backing Mark Yu, and, you know, with everything that's coming out saying he's absolutely going to get minutes, he's absolutely going to get starts. We've got a Mega looking like he's going to come over from Strasbourg at the end of the year as well. Do you know what I mean? And obviously when Liam Delap comes back, and we've got João Pedro up top, so the striker situation is stacked. But for the situation that we're in right now, surely the best thing to have done would have been to either keep him for the whole season or keep him for the first half of the season and see if anyone wants to come in for him in January. Do you know what I mean? I just don't understand how this benefits anyone. Nicolas Jackson is not going to get into that Bayern Munich first team 40 times this season. It's absolutely not going to happen. So the other thing about Uli Hoeneß, right, is the way he said it. Now, again, really have to caveat this. The German language is very, very, very direct. So it might be just, it seems a bit crazy to us that he said it like this. But he essentially said there's no chance. He was like, Nicolas Jackson's not going to get made on a permanent because he's going to have to make 40 starts a season. And that's probably just not going to happen. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but check out the article. That's 100% how it came across. So that's just kind of where we're at, man. It just seems like a bit of a waste for everyone. I don't really understand. Like, Bayern Munich were really, really interested in him, but apparently just as a backup option, right? And they're not going to pay 70 mil for a backup option when that is almost categorically more than all of those players cost combined. Oh, not more, but in and around the same price. Do you know what I mean? I think Harry Kane was like 80 million euros. I think Michael Elise was probably like 50 or something because he was getting towards the end of his Palace deal. Luis Diaz was like 70. They're not going to spend the same amount of money. A very frugal Bayern Munich, by the way, who, you know, German teams in general don't like to splash the cash, are not going to spend 70 mil combined on Jackson to be a backup to the rest of their squad. Now, there are some caveats to this, right? If someone gets injured, and I don't really like talking about this because we don't want the hoodoo, right? It's not cool to wish injuries on players. I absolutely don't back that at all. But I guess if a Luis Diaz or a Harry Kane ended up picking up an injury, then maybe he gets those 40 starts. The only other alternative really is that he sets the Bundesliga on fire and turns out to be better than Harry Kane or Luis Diaz. And mate, that's not happening. That's not happening, is it? Don't get me wrong, man. Like, Jackson's had a reasonable return in the Premier League. What's it, like 14 goals his first season, 9 goals in his last season. I think with a couple here and there in other tournaments and stuff. So, you know, you're looking at like 25, 26 goals in 2 seasons. Isn't terrible, but Harry Kane scores like 30 goals a season. Do you know what I mean? Like, Nicolas Jackson hasn't managed that in 2 years in the Premier League without having any other competition for his spot either. So it's just frustrating, man. It's just frustrating because what's going to happen, essentially, bar something crazy happening, is we're going to end up with Nicolas Jackson back on the books at the end of the season. He's going to want to go somewhere. He's going to be in the bomb squad. We're not going to take a low price for him. We're not just going to ship him out for 50 mil. We're going to try and get that 60, 70 mil because of his age, because of his potential. And it's going to probably be another bomb squad, last day of the window thing. And he might just end up going out on loan again, man. We might accidentally have put ourselves in the Raheem Sterling situation. It's probably not going to be that bad. A, because he's not on nearly as much wages for a start. So it's just one of them, and it is a bit of a mess. I actually do feel for Jackson a bit, if I'm completely honest. But at the same time, he must have known what the clause was for the permanent to trigger to get the sale to go through when he signed the loan deal and made the loan to Bayern Munich in the first place, right? So I can't feel bad in terms of like Jackson has just rocked up and found out that he's got to make 40 starts, otherwise it's not going to get permanent. Like he will have to have been told that during the negotiations, otherwise that's probably some sort of gross misconduct, right? So I don't feel bad for him in that way. I just feel bad for it. Well, no, do you know what? I don't even really feel bad for him, because if he made that decision to, okay, I'm going to back myself to try and get 40 starts at Bayern Munich, or at least raise my profile to try and get a sale somewhere else when I come back to Chelsea, then that's 100% what he wants to do. If he doesn't want to come back to the club, he doesn't want to come back to the club. He obviously intimated that to the board, which is why they found some way to make this deal go through in the first place. But I don't know, man. Tell me what you think in the comments, guys. I've been rambling about this for a little while now. It just seems to me that we are the ones that are losing out here, because we really needed a striker to, we can't put all of this pressure on João Pedro. Mark Gu, although I do back him to come in and get the minutes, at the end of the day, Nicolas Jackson would obviously have been a better option to play all these games that Liam Delap is not going to be able to. So it feels like, as Chelsea fans, we have just missed out, and there doesn't seem to be any massive positive to it. Now, the other thing that I actually mentioned at the start, that I've just gone on a bit of a rant on this one, haven't I? So the fee, right? The fee. So supposedly this is something that Uli Hoeneß said as well. So it's 16.5 mil was the reported fee, and apparently it's not that. Apparently it's 13 mil euros, by the way, because supposedly this 3.5 mil went to Jackson's agent, so it didn't come to Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? So the fee in totality was 16.5, but 13 of that came to Chelsea. Now, technically, that is still more, because originally we were looking at 12.5, and that was going to be the biggest loan fee of all time. But now you've got to ask the question, was 3.5 of that going to go to Jackson's agent? So that was actually only 9 mil, and is it 0.5 mil? Do you know what I mean? It all just seems a bit silly, doesn't it? So, the deal came out, and it was like, biggest loan fee ever, and I think it still is the biggest loan fee ever, but at the same time it's not as much as it was originally purported. Now, the other thing about this is, in today's news specifically, I've seen something about Jackson's agent coming out and sort of chilling out on the permanent Bayern Munich thing. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, Nicolas Jackson's a Chelsea player, and maybe he's going to come back to the club at the end of the season or whatever. But yeah, the mad thing about this is just like the direct, candid nature with which Uli Hoeneß supposedly come out and said, yeah, that's not going to happen. Jackson's absolutely not going to get made permanent because he'd have to make 40 starts. Almost like a little bit sarcastically, do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, sarcasm not Germany's greatest kind of thing that we know about them. Do you know what I mean? So it's fair to say that what this probably is through our English speaking lens, we're seeing that and we're being a bit like, whoa. Whereas for Uli Hoeneß, it might very much more just be like, no, it's not going to happen. There's no sarcasm or anything. He's just telling it as it is. So if that is the case, fair enough. But yeah, what do you think, guys? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd absolutely love to know, because Jackson's not even with Bayern Munich at the moment. Do you know what I mean? He's away at Senegal, so he's not even really been training with them. Do you know what I mean? So he's already missed a couple of games. They've only got 3 competitions in this season, because obviously in England we have 2 domestic cups. We've got the FA Cup and we've got the League Cup, which is the Carabao Cup at the moment. In Germany, they've only got the DFB Pokal. So they've got 3 competitions: Bundesliga, Champions League, DFB Pokal, probably 50 to 60 games a season, probably a little bit less than that, just because of that lack of that third competition. So there is just such a small chance of Jackson getting that many starts across the season, man. Do you know what I mean? Barring something really unfortunate happening to one of the Bayern Munich players, which is not something I would like to see at all. So let me know what you think in the comments. Was this a wasted opportunity? Was it just worth it? Help me out here. Give me some copium in the comments. Like, make me feel better. Was it just worth it to get him out of the squad if he didn't want to be there? Do you think that a Mark Gu who wants to be here is a better option for Chelsea for this period than a Nicolas Jackson that was not interested? I personally lean towards, you're a professional, you've signed a contract until 2033. If Chelsea want you to come back and play football, you come back and play football. It doesn't benefit you to play badly or down tools, because then you'll only find it harder to get the move you want later down the line. Do you know what I mean? It's like that thing, that's where things can start to get a little bit complicated. He's not just going to sit on the bench, because he'd have to sit on the bench. And why this is the one really good thing about the Blue Coast stuff, right? The way that they're doing their deals now, Jackson cannot wind his contract down, because he'll be sat here for 7 years, never playing football or down in tools. Do you know what I mean? So that is the one really good thing, is we've taken that player power away, and we're not going to end up in a situation like, just for instance, like with Trent Alexander to Real Madrid, where he was able to wind his contract down and go on a free. That's absolutely not going to be able to happen because he's on such a long deal. That's the same with Cole Palmer and all these players that we're putting on these deals. Do you know what I mean? We are taking the power away from them to be able to just say, "I'll just come and sit on the bench," because you can't. Because you can, but you'll literally just waste away because it's such a massive portion of your career. So that is one minor positive, I guess, is that option has been completely taken away. And one way or the other, Jackson's going to have to try his best and play well, whether it be at Bayern Munich or whether it be at Chelsea, because he's going to have to try and get a move again. Do you know what I mean? And if he's not playing football, or if he's having bad attitude or whatever, then people aren't going to come in for him. So, guys, tell me what you think. I'll reiterate, Mark Gu, is that a better option if he wants to be here, or would Nicolas Jackson have been a better option, even if being at Chelsea wasn't his number one choice at the moment? I think I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow night. I said it for the last game, but I didn't get around to it. But I'm going to try and do a live stream tomorrow night for the game, the England game. So if you guys are around and interested in having a little watch along with me, then let me know in the comments. Let's have a little chat about it. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day. I can't wait to catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.